My mother-in-law, Patricia, who used to bully me, suddenly became incredibly kind one day. Despite the feeling, I found peace in my daily life. However, it was all part of a scheme orchestrated by my mother-in-law and husband. The two of them planned to seize the inheritance I was supposed to receive. Realizing their intentions, I decided to take action. I'm Sophia. I live with my husband, James, and my mother-in-law currently. Unfortunately, we were not blessed with children. Since both my husband and I work with no kids, we lived a relatively decent life. Due to my husband's job, he works until late at night, so usually I eat with Patricia. One day, as I returned home from work, preparing dinner as usual, I suddenly heard a loud noise. Wondering what happened, I rushed over to find Patricia lying at the bottom of the stairs. It appeared that she had fallen down the stairs. "Are you okay, Patricia? Patricia?" She seemed to have hit her head hard and was in a dazed state, barely conscious. I quickly called an ambulance and accompanied her to the hospital. After waiting for a while at the hospital, a doctor called my name. The test results showed no significant damage, just a minor concussion. I felt relieved that it wasn't anything serious. At that moment, my husband arrived at the hospital as well. I reassured him that it seemed like nothing major had happened, and we decided to visit Patricia together. As my stepmother regained consciousness, she looked around with confusion. It seemed like she didn't remember hitting her head and was puzzled by finding herself in an unfamiliar place. "Mother, do you recognize me? It's your son, James." "Oh, yes, of course I do. Is this a hospital? Why am I here?" "Patricia, you fell and collapsed on the staircase at home. Do you have any pain anywhere?" "Well, there seemed to be nothing wrong with me, but who are you?" My stepmother's behavior was odd. She looked at me as if she had never met me before. "I'm Sophia, James' wife. We've been living together as a family of 3. It seemed that the shock from hitting her head has caused her to lose her memory. We asked her various questions afterward, but she had completely forgotten anything related to me. As a precaution, she underwent a CT scan and thorough examinations, but there were no abnormalities found in her brain. The doctors concluded that it was a temporary memory loss, likely due to the impact, and she was discharged to go home. Once we arrived home, my husband and I immediately held a discussion. Given my stepmother's condition, it seemed best if one of us stayed with her at all times. "I'm working from home, so I'll be at home most of the time. I'll take care of Patricia." "Thank you as always, but I'm worried about her too, so I'll work from home for a while." "I agree. Having both of us here will bring peace of mind. By the way, do you think Patricia's memories will come back?" "I wonder. According to the doctor, her memories might return unexpectedly, or they might never come back. Honestly, they couldn't say for sure." And so, my mother-in-law's daily life continued without remembering me. Initially, I had many concerns, but she didn't encounter any significant issues. Even though she remembers the neighbors and the plot of the TV dramas she had been watching, she completely forgot about me. "Why is it that I can remember everything else but can't recall anything about you, Sophia? I feel so sorry." "Oh no, it's not your fault. Please don't worry about it." While saying that, deep down inside, I feel lucky that my mother-in-law has suffered from amnesia. The truth is, she used to subject me to intense bullying. She has also forgotten about that. It happened when I went to introduce myself before getting married. At that time, my father-in-law was still alive, and my mother-in-law was initially kind. However, her attitude changed completely when we were alone. She would make harsh remarks like, "You must have grown up in a broken home since you lack affection," and People with only a high school education have low standards, and I don't want to associate with them. She said terrible things. When she noticed my father-in-law or husband's presence, she would suddenly put on a sweet voice and say, "Sophia, please take care of us from now on." I reported this to my husband, but he replied, "Well, I didn't witness it myself. Aren't you exaggerating a bit? I don't feel good hearing negative things about my mother." It seemed like I was being portrayed as the bad person. "It's true, believe me. Honestly, I don't want much to do with your mother." "That's not a problem. My parents will continue to live in the same house. Well, we'll just go visit them in the Bond festivals and New Year's Day." Just when I thought, well, I guess it's fine, something unimaginable happened. My father-in-law suddenly passed away. He was hit by a truck driven by a drunk driver while crossing the pedestrian crossing. It felt like the gears had started turning in a bad direction for me, and my intuition turned out to be right. My husband has actually suggested that we live together with my mother-in-law as a family of 3. Are you kidding me? I clearly told you that I don't want to have anything to do with my mother-in-law, didn't I? And you agreed to that. I said. That was when my dad was still alive. The circumstances have changed, so we have no choice. He replied. I haven't sorted out my feelings yet. Besides, my mother doesn't work, and if things continue like this, she will gradually run out of money for her daily expenses, and eventually she won't be able to sustain her living. So let's have her live here while saving money, and at the right time we can move her to a nursing home. She's also accepting that plan. Well, in 23 years, we should be able to find a good place. In this somewhat forceful manner, my mother-in-law started living with us. That's when everything changed. My husband worked late into the night, and I worked from home. Naturally, my mother-in-law and I ended up spending a lot of time alone together. It was quite awkward, but there was no choice but to manage somehow. Mother, I'll be cooking dinner tonight. Is there anything you'd like to eat? Don't casually call me mother. I don't think you're capable of cooking decent meals, but if you insist on doing that, I'll be the judge. Be grateful. By the way, have you cleaned properly? There's still dirt and stains here. I never liked you from the beginning. I wonder what James saw in a woman like you. She suddenly said. Even after finishing the meal, she would continue with comments like, "The seasoning is too strong," or, "It's your fault we can't have children." She would always find something to nag about. I managed to endure it for 2 or 3 years, enduring the constant insults. However, my mother-in-law showed no signs of going to a nursing home, and before I knew it, I had endured her snide remarks for 10 years. But my mother-in-law was really good at pretending. She never made snide remarks when my husband was around. On the contrary, she would belittle herself and say things like, "I'm sorry for being a burden." My husband was completely deceived by her act. And then, an unforgettable incident occurred for me. I received a call from my aunt saying that my own mother has been hospitalized with terminal cancer. I immediately wanted to go visit her, but my mother-in-law's snide remarks started again. "Are you prioritizing your own family and neglecting this household? Even though I'm not young anymore, my son's wife can't even do the household chores properly," she would say, stirring up guilt. Logically, it was absurd. But at that time, I was in a panic because of my mother's illness, and my thought process had been affected by the constant bullying from my mother-in-law. I ended up blaming myself. Unable to go visit my mother, I received another call from my aunt. "Hello, it's about your mother. Her cancer has progressed to an advanced stage, and it seems she won't be able to return home anymore. So she asked me to discuss with you what to do with the house and real estate she currently lives in." "Auntie, I see. So my mother doesn't have much time left. The house she lives in is under my name since my father passed away, so that's not a problem. As for the other properties that my father owned, there are around 10 of them, but they are under my mother's name, so I think it's about discussing those properties, but I can't decide right away whether to inherit them or sell them. Let me think about it for a bit. Understood, but more importantly, please go visit her. She wanted to see Sophia. Yeah, I really want to go. I hung up the phone with a tight feeling in my chest. What is the most important thing to me? Is it to please my mother-in-law? Can I continue to obey her and not be able to see my mother before she passes away? I was troubled. And then, 1 week later, my mother-in-law lost her memory, completely forgetting about me. I couldn't help but feel overjoyed because I thought the constant bullying from my mother-in-law would finally come to an end. Time has passed and 1 month had gone by since my mother-in-law's memory loss. She became very kind. She started helping with household chores and even went shopping. She stopped finding fault with every little thing. It felt like heaven compared to how things were before. However, there were still some suspicious moments. For example, she said, "You can go visit your mom without worrying about me." I didn't recall telling her about my mother's illness since she lost her memory. When I pointed that out, she tried to cover it up by saying, "Oh, well, James told me." Well, that was still fine. If it concerned a matter of life and death, it's possible he had mentioned it. There were other incidents, like when she went shopping and said, "I bought your favorite pudding because it was on sale." How did she know about my favorite food if she was supposed to have forgotten? Will they talk about something like this as a parent and child? Perhaps the amnesia is a lie. I started to doubt it. But I didn't understand the purpose behind it. The only thing that changed about my stepmother after her amnesia was that she became very kind to me. Is it advantageous for my stepmother to act this way? On the contrary, isn't being kind to someone she dislikes causing her stress? Is my mother-in-law really experiencing amnesia? If so, why is she pretending to have forgotten only me? With these thoughts in mind, I decided to investigate. I began monitoring Patricia's actions when she went shopping. I searched her room and found a book about inheritance. Furthermore, when I checked her computer's browsing history, I discovered search terms such as amnesia, pretending, and mother-in-law, sudden change in attitude. I decided to install a hidden camera in my room and check it after a few days. When I reviewed the camera footage, I saw Patricia entering my room in my absence, searching for something. Wallet? Credit cards? No, it must be documents related to the inheritance. I had a general understanding of the situation. She had probably eavesdropped on previous conversations between my aunt and me, and I'm sure she thought to herself, "Oh, Sophia were going to inherit a huge fortune. If only I had been kinder to her. But it's too late now, and being kind to her would only raise suspicion. Oh, I got a good idea." So she pretended to have amnesia, reset our previous hostile relationship, and tried to establish a new and favorable relationship, all with the hope of getting a share of my inheritance. Realizing that she was doing such petty things for the sake of money made me feel disgusted. I remember that she had been buying expensive items one after another recently, such as a massage chair and a high-end bed. When I mentioned her shopping to my husband, he said, "My mother is stressed due to her memory loss. Let her do some shopping." I had endured it. Since she didn't work, I wondered where she got that money from. But maybe she was trying to make me pay for everything. With mother-in-law pretending to have amnesia for my money, and a husband who wouldn't stand up for me, I couldn't stay in that place any longer. I made up my mind to get a divorce. However, if I was going to get a divorce anyway, I wanted to proceed on favorable terms. To investigate if there was anything inconvenient for my husband and his mother, I decided to hire a private investigator. The investigator advised me to set up a hidden camera in the living room, saying that they might have conversations about targeting my inheritance. I followed the advice. A few days later, I had an abundance of evidence. Firstly, thanks to the investigation, it was revealed that both my husband and his mother had debts. My mother-in-law went to casino slots almost every day and obtained photos of her entering a fast loan company. Furthermore, I found out that my husband was having an affair. He was spending a considerable amount of money on a woman he met at the club. It seemed he had taken out loans to fund it since his salary wasn't enough. Moreover, thanks to the hidden camera in the living room, I discovered that they had planned to pretend to have amnesia together. I had always thought it was my mother-in-law's idea alone, so I was beyond speechless. The evidence was sufficient. That evening, I called both of them to the living room, telling them I had something important to discuss. I showed them the recorded conversations, the diary where I had documented the harassment I had endured, and confronted them with the fact that my stepmother's amnesia was a lie, and that both of them had debts and were targeting my inheritance. I told my husband I knew about the affair. Without giving them a chance to speak, I left the divorce papers and walked out immediately. Where I went was my mother's house. I wondered why I had hesitated to be against them all this time. The most important thing was to be with my sick mother. Afterwards, my husband called me. He said, "Mother really has amnesia. The affair was misunderstanding." He hesitated to agree to the divorce. However, when I told him, he quickly agreed. Since he had been lying all along, he knew that he would lose if everything was thoroughly investigated in court. I decided to bring my mother home from the hospital and take care of her there. She expressed her desire to live in that house where we had been together. As for my ex-husband and his mother, who had no means to repay their debts, went so far as to indulge in expensive shopping, accumulating credit card loans and living off of them. They came to my parents' house several times begging for money, but I told them, "We have a sick person here, so don't ever come back. If you do, I'll call the police." Upon hearing that, they left in a hurry as if fleeing. Despite the fact that they were supposed to pay me alimony, their audacity is astounding. My husband was able to spend money on his affair because we both had jobs, but due to the alimony and repayment of debts, he ran out of money and tried to escape from his affair partner, angering her in the process. It seems that everything was exposed when she barged into the company, and he became uncomfortable working there, resulting in his resignation. Now he and his mother are scraping by with part-time jobs. On the other hand, I spent the last moments with my mother. Although the time from her discharge to her passing was short, we were able to spend peaceful moments together. My mother peacefully departed for heaven, as if falling asleep. After her funeral, I decided to start a new life by selling our family home and moving to a place with a view of the sea, which my mother had always wanted to live in. Fortunately, I have inherited real estate income from my parents, so I'm not financially struggling. For now, I plan to take it easy and rest, wanting to refresh my mind and soul.